The story is titled, My In-Laws Demanded I Quit My Job Because Real Mothers Stay Home. Then my husband said, My mom's right, you're being selfish. So I stopped paying my half of everything and watched reality hit them both. By the time I pulled into our driveway that night, my hands were shaking so bad I had to sit there with the engine running, just staring at the porch light. From inside, I could see our wedding photo hanging crooked in the hallway through the front window. It had been knocked sideways weeks ago when Emma ran her toy stroller into the wall, and I kept meaning to fix it. Now it just looked symbolic. Cute little family, tilted just enough to be wrong, and nobody bothering to straighten it. I'm Lily, 32 years old, female, and I'm a project manager at a software company. I like my job. I'm good at it. I make decent money, have my own health insurance, and I actually enjoy using my brain for something other than meal planning and remembering when we're out of baby wipes. My husband Jason, 35 years old, male, is in medical device sales. He's one of those people who can talk to anyone about anything and somehow walk out with a signed contract and a free pen. When we met, that charisma felt like sunshine. Now it mostly feels like a weapon he uses to sell whatever story he needs people to believe. We've been married 6 years. We have 2 kids, Emma, 4 years old, female, who thinks glitter is a personality trait, and Noah, 2 years old, male, who is either hugging you or actively trying to destroy your house. I love them so much it actually scares me sometimes, like physically hurts deep in my chest. And then there's the third child in our marriage, Jason's mom, Carol, 62 years old, female. Carol is the kind of woman who says she tells it like it is, which mostly means she uses zero filter and calls it honesty when she's just being cruel. Passive-aggressive when she's calm, nuclear when she's not. Jason's dad, Don, 64 years old, male, is basically furniture with opinions about football. He just sits there and nods. From the moment I met Carol, she had a problem with my job. On our second date ever, when Jason introduced me to his parents, I remember sitting at their oak dining table while she smiled at me over her wine glass and said, So, Lily, when you two get serious, are you going to keep doing that little computer thing? Or will you focus on building a home? My little computer thing at the time was managing a multi-million-dollar rollout for a hospital system. But sure, okay. Jason laughed, kissed the top of my head and said, Mom, it's not the 1950s. She actually likes working. I remember filing that away as a good sign. Look, he's not like them. He gets it. I was so stupid. The red flags were there from the beginning. I just kept folding them into neat little squares and shoving them in a drawer. When we got engaged, Carol cried real tears because I wanted a small wedding instead of the 200-person church event she'd imagined since Jason was born. She cornered me in the bathroom at the bridal shower, clutching a wad of tissues and whispered, You're taking my son away. At least let me have this. When Emma was born, she showed up at our house unannounced 3 days after we got home from the hospital, with 3 casseroles and an entire personality full of opinions. She walked straight past me, bleeding and exhausted on the couch, and went into the nursery. This layout doesn't make sense, she said, already dragging the crib away from the wall while I sat there in my stained nursing tank top like a guest in my own house. The changing table should be here, and this chair is too far from the window. Honestly, Lily, you're making it harder on yourself. Every time she'd say something like that, about breastfeeding or sleep training or how much time I spent answering work emails, I'd see Jason tense up for half a second. Then he'd exhale, paste on that sales guy smile, and gently redirect. Mom, leave her alone, she's doing great, became his catchphrase. And I clung to that like proof that he was on my side, even while he never actually told her to stop. Finances were always even, at least on paper. When we bought our house, we agreed to split everything 50-50. Mortgage, utilities, daycare, groceries. I make slightly less than Jason, but not by much. It felt fair, modern, equal partnership, right? Except somehow, equal partnership still meant I was the one wiping down sticky counters at 11 p.m., packing preschool lunches at midnight, and folding tiny socks on conference calls while Jason went to networking dinners. Anytime I hinted that the split didn't feel as equal in practice, Jason would sigh and say something like, You work from home, babe. It's easier for you to throw in a load of laundry. I'm in the car all day. That became another script I swallowed because picking a fight felt exhausting. But tonight felt different from the beginning. Carol had insisted, her exact word, on having us over for a proper family dinner to celebrate Jason's recent promotion. Just the four of us, she'd said brightly over the phone. Well, six with the kids, but you know what I mean. I knew what she meant. No siblings, no cousins, no buffer, just me, Jason, and his parents trapped around that oak table that always smelled faintly like lemon polish and judgment. I should have known it wasn't really about pot roast and celebration. I should have known an ambush when I saw one. The second I walked into their house, I could smell the pot roast and tension. Carol had gone all out. The table was set with her good china, the candles were lit, and there was this giant bouquet of white lilies in the middle that made my eyes water. I don't know if it was the pollen or the irony. "Look at my working girl," Carol sang out as I helped Emma out of her shoes. She said working like it tasted sour. "Saving lives with emails, huh?" Jason chuckled, already halfway to the kitchen to grab a beer with Dawn. No kiss hello, no you okay? After my commute in traffic with two tired kids. Just gone. I took a deep breath, smoothed Noah's hair down, and told myself to make it through one dinner without a scene. For the first 20 minutes, it was almost normal. Carol bragged about Jason's promotion like she'd personally negotiated it. Dawn nodded and grunted in approval between bites. Emma dropped peas on the floor. Noah tried to feed mashed potatoes to the dog. Then Carol picked up her wine glass, cleared her throat, and folded her hands like a CEO about to deliver bad news. "So," she said, eyes locking on me, "now that Jason's doing so well, we wanted to talk about what's best for the children." My fork paused halfway to my mouth. "What?" Jason shifted in his chair. Not much, just enough that I saw it. The tiny flinch. He knew this was coming. Carol smiled. A tight practice thing. "Sweetheart, real mothers stay home. Jason is making more than enough now. There's no reason for those babies to be raised by strangers." I actually laughed. It just came out, this sharp, disbelieving sound. "Daycare teachers aren't strangers, and I like my job." She sighed like I was a stubborn teenager. "Lily, nobody likes leaving their babies all day. You're just used to being selfish, but now it's time to prioritize your family." I felt heat crawl up my neck. I am prioritizing my family. My income pays half this mortgage, half daycare, half everything. That's when she did it. She reached under her chair and pulled out a manila folder. "I swear to God." "I knew you'd say that," she said calmly, sliding it across the table toward me. So Jason and I sat down and did some math. My stomach dropped. What?" Inside were printed spreadsheets, their handwriting, red pen notes, line items for our mortgage, utilities, groceries, daycare, circled numbers, circled. At the top, single income budget, Lily home. My eyes snapped to Jason. "You went through our finances with your mom?" He wouldn't look at me. "We were just talking, Lil. Calm down." "Oh, don't be dramatic," Carol added. "We're trying to help. A man provides. You shouldn't be splitting bills like roommates. It's emasculating." All the air left my lungs. Roommates. Emasculating. Like my paycheck, my effort, my entire career were some kind of insult. "I'm not quitting my job," I said quietly. My hands were shaking, so I put them in my lap. Carol's smile vanished. "So you're choosing your ego over your children." I turned to Jason, begging him with my eyes to say something. To be the man who used to kiss my forehead and tell his mom it wasn't the 1950s. Instead, he stared at his plate and muttered, "My mom's right, Lily. You're being selfish." Something in me cracked so loud I swear I could hear it over the clink of silverware. Update. Okay, wow. I did not expect this many people to read my brain dump, let alone DM me spreadsheets and custody advice. A lot of you asked what happened after Jason dropped the "you're being selfish" line at dinner, because yeah, I kind of blacked out emotionally there. I remember my chair scraping back so hard it hit the wall. Emma jumped. Carol gasped like I'd slapped her. I stood up, palms flat on the table, and said very calmly, considering my heart was pounding out of my chest, "I'm not quitting my job, and you had no right to go through our finances with your mother." Jason finally looked at me then, eyes already angry. "We're a family. There's no my and your anything." Carol added, "Except it's his house if he's paying for it." And I swear I saw red. I grabbed my purse, scooped up Noah, told Emma to put her shoes on. Jason followed me to the entryway, hissing, "You're making a scene." I turned around so fast he actually flinched. "You made a financial plan for my life without me. That's the scene." He punched the wall next to the door. Not hard enough to break his hand, but hard enough that the framed picture of baby Emma fell and the glass shattered. Emma started wailing. That sound is going to live in my bones forever. We went home in silence. The broken photo in our hallway, still crooked, felt like it was mocking me. That night, after the kids were asleep and Jason passed out on the couch with ESPN on, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. And instead of crying, after crying, I opened our bank accounts. And this is where a lot of your comments hit me like a truck. So many of you said, "Why are you paying half if you're being treated like a maid with a side hustle? Why are you subsidizing your own disrespect?" So I made a decision. I moved my direct deposit into a separate checking account in my own name. I left just enough in the joint account to not raise alarms immediately. I canceled the auto pay for my half of the mortgage and daycare. I set up new auto pays from my account for my car, my phone, my student loan, daycare for my days, everything of mine, covered, everything of ours that he insisted on providing for. He can provide. I haven't told him yet. The first missed payment email is going to hit his inbox next week. Petty, maybe, but if I'm such a selfish, emasculating roommate, then he can enjoy paying all the roommate bills. The week after I changed my direct deposit, the house felt like it was holding its breath. Jason acted weirdly, normal. He still kissed the kids goodnight, still left his coffee mug in the sink directly next to the empty dishwasher, still sent me stupid memes during the day like we hadn't detonated our marriage at his parents' dining table. He didn't bring up the fight. He didn't bring up his mom. It was like he'd decided the whole thing would just blow over if he ignored it long enough. Classic. Jason. Charm away the conflict, wait for the woman in his life to smooth it all out. Meanwhile, every time my phone buzzed with a bank notification, my stomach clenched, even when I knew it was about my new account. I kept replaying that night, his fist hitting the wall, baby Emma's photo shattering on the floor, until it felt less like a memory and more like a warning. Reality showed up on a Wednesday morning. I was in the kitchen juggling a Zoom call and cutting crusts off Emma's toast when Jason's phone rang on the counter. Mortgage company. I only glanced at the caller ID because the name flashed big and bold on his screen. He frowned, picked up, and put it on speaker like it was a routine thing. "Hi, Mr. Collins. We're calling because your mortgage payment this month was only partial. We show a shortfall of—" He stabbed the speaker off so fast the woman's voice cut into static. His head snapped toward me. "Did you forget to send your half?" His tone was already accusatory, no room for the possibility that I might say, "Yeah, on purpose." I wiped peanut butter off my hand and met his eyes. I could actually feel the moment, the fork in the road feeling. I could lie, scramble, fix it, be the reasonable one again. Or I could finally let him sit in the version of reality he and Carol were so eager to design. "I didn't forget," I said, steady. "You and your mom made it very clear. A man provides. So, provide." It took a full 3 seconds for it to land. Then his face went red. "Are you kidding me, Lily?" He grabbed the nearest thing, the mail basket on the counter, and flung it at the wall. Envelopes exploded everywhere, one of them knocking a magnet off the fridge. Emma's preschool drawing of our family fluttered down, crumpling under his shoe when he stepped forward. "You're going to risk our house over some feminist tantrum?" he shouted. I flinched at the volume but held my ground. "I'm not risking anything. My car, my bills, the kids' stuff, covered. The mortgage is the thing you didn't want me touching, remember? You don't get to call me selfish and then expect my paycheck." He raked his hands through his hair, pacing. "You're insane. My mom said you'd pull something like this." There it was, my mom said. That night, he was on the phone with Carol in the garage for over an hour, voice low and furious. I caught bits when he stomped back in. Won't listen. Disrespect. Acting like a roommate. The next morning, Carol's car screeched into our driveway like we were on fire. I was mid-email when she pounded on the door, then just let herself in with the spare key we'd given them for emergencies. "This," she said, slamming a printed mortgage notice down on the kitchen table, "is what I warned Jason about." She was shaking, eyes wild. She swept her arm across the fridge, knocking down every one of the kids' drawings, a magnet shattering when it hit the tile. Emma started crying immediately. "What is wrong with you?" I snapped, going to pick the papers up. "What's wrong with me?" Carol shrieked. "You're sabotaging your own home, sabotaging my son. If you won't be a real wife, you're not going to use his roof and his money like some leech." Then she reached for my open laptop. "Let me see your accounts. We're going to fix this." I slammed it shut and yanked it back so hard the chair scraped. "Get your hands off my stuff, Carol. You don't get access to my job or my money." For a second, we were both just standing there, breathing hard, our reflections warped in the black laptop screen between us. That's when my phone rang. Daycare. "Hi, Lily," the director said carefully. "We need to talk about the outstanding balance for the kids' care, and your mother-in-law just called asking if she should take over your payments because you're not reliable." I just stared at the phone for a second, the daycare director's words buzzing in my ear like static. Outstanding balance, not reliable. Your mother-in-law. I could feel Carol's eyes burning holes in the side of my head, like she was waiting for me to be embarrassed. "Hi, Megan," I managed. "Yeah, thanks for calling. Just to be clear, only Jason and I handle payments and decisions. Carol is not authorized to do anything with our account. Please note that." There was a pause. Okay, I had a feeling. She was very insistent. "There is a partial balance from this month, though." "That's Jason's half," I said, voice suddenly sharp. "I'll be in later today to clear it from my personal account. And please add a note that no information is to be shared with anyone except me or Jason, especially not his mother." When I hung up, Carol crossed her arms. "So? Are you done making a scene?" I slowly set my phone down. "You called my kids' daycare and told them I'm not reliable. If the shoe fits," she snapped, "someone has to step up since you're busy playing boss at your little computer job instead of being a real mother." Something in me went ice cold. I walked over to the key hook by the door, took down the spare house key she and Dawn used, and held it up between us. "This was for emergencies," I said. "You abusing it is the emergency." Before she could react, I stepped to the sink, turned on the garbage disposal, and dropped the key in. The grinding metal-on-metal shriek made both kids clap their hands over their ears. Carol lunged like she could somehow grab it back, bumping my shoulder hard enough that I had to catch myself on the counter. "You ungrateful little," she started, face twisted. "Get out of my house," I cut in. My voice was shaking, but it came out low and deadly. "Right now. Or I call the police and tell them you're harassing me in front of my kids." We stared each other down. For a second, I thought she might actually slap me. Her hand twitched. Instead, she grabbed the wedding photo off the wall by the door, stared at it, then snapped the frame in half over her knee. Glass rained onto the entryway rug. Our frozen, smiling faces split right down the middle. "See how fast this all falls apart without a real woman holding it together," she hissed, and stormed out, slamming the door so hard another picture tilted sideways. 2 hours later, I was at daycare, signing papers with shaking hands while Emma and Noah played with blocks in the corner. "Remove Carol and Dawn from the pickup list," I told Megan. "Effective immediately, just me and Jason. And that balance, put it all on my account." "Are you sure?" she asked gently. "Positive," I said. "If Jason wants to provide, he can start by paying me back." 2 days after that, my revenge landed. I was in the lobby at pickup when Carol blew through the front doors like a storm cloud, sunglasses on, lips pressed thin. "I'm here for my grandbabies," she told the receptionist, already reaching for the sign-out sheet. The girl behind the desk glanced at the computer, then shook her head. "I'm sorry, you're not on the authorized list." Carol barked out a laugh. "I'm their grandmother. Get them, now." Megan stepped out of her office, calm but firm. "Carol, we spoke on the phone. You're not authorized for pickup anymore. You need to leave." I watched from the bench, heart pounding, as realization hit her. She spun, saw me sitting there with my laptop bag, and lost it. "You did this!" she screeched, knocking over the lobby's potted ficus so dirt spilled all over the tile. Parents froze. Kids stared. "You're turning my son's children against family." "No," I said, standing and moving toward the classroom doors. "I'm protecting them from chaos." She lunged toward the hallway, and Megan stepped in front of her. Carol shoved her hard enough that Megan hit the wall with a thud. That was it. Someone at the desk was already dialing 911. By the time the police walked in, Carol was red-faced, crying, yelling about kidnapping and unfit mothers, while dirt and broken ceramic crunched under her heels. I stood there with Emma clinging to my leg and Noah on my hip, strangely calm. Let Jason explain this one away. Update 2. So, the daycare incident blew up way bigger than I expected, and Jason finally got his little crash course in providing. First, thank you to everyone who pointed out that Carol shoving Megan isn't just drama, it's assault, and that Jason punching walls is not just frustration. A lot of you called it what it is: intimidation. Seeing it written by strangers hit me harder than I want to admit. Here's what happened after the police showed up at daycare. They separated us. Carol was outside in the parking lot sobbing and yelling into her phone, spoiler Jason, while I sat inside with an officer giving a statement. Megan backed me up completely about Carol barging in, screaming and shoving her. The officers ended up giving Carol a formal trespass warning for the daycare. If she shows up again, it's an instant arrest. Watching her sign that paper with a shaking hand while throwing me death glares over her sunglasses? Not going to lie, that was satisfying. Jason showed up halfway through, tie crooked, jaw clenched. He went straight to Carol, of course, hugging her like she was the victim. I watched him glance at the cruiser, at the other parents staring, at the dirt still smeared on the lobby floor from the broken plant. He looked scared. Not for me, for his image. Later that night, after we got the kids down, he started in. "You humiliated my mother," he said, pacing the living room. "You went nuclear over a misunderstanding." I just handed him the copy of the trespass notice and Megan's written statement the officer gave me. "Your mother walked into our kids' daycare, tried to override my decisions, and assaulted the director. That's not a misunderstanding." He threw the papers onto the coffee table so hard the remote went flying and hit the wall. Some of you asked if I'm planning to leave him. I didn't have an answer before. I kind of do now. The morning after daycare gate, I called a family lawyer. I didn't give names yet, just laid out the situation. When I mentioned the wall punching, the broken photo, the financial control attempt, and his mother's behavior, the lawyer didn't hesitate. "Start documenting everything, yesterday, and keep your money separate." So, I bought a little spiral notebook. Every time Jason yells, every time Carol calls from a blocked number, every screenshot of her texts about me being unfit, it all goes in there. And here's the part that will probably make some of you cheer. I also asked daycare to email both of us a copy of the incident report and CC Jason's work email for documentation. His precious professional image now has a neat little paper trail attached to it. He wanted to be the big provider. Now he gets to watch what it looks like when the people who trust him with their money see what kind of family chaos he's actually providing. Jason's reality check came faster than I thought it would. 3 days after the daycare incident, he came home in the middle of the afternoon, tie stuffed in his pocket, face gray. He dropped his briefcase so hard it tipped over and spilled papers across the entryway, right where the broken wedding frame had been. "What happened?" I asked, already knowing. He laughed once, ugly. "My boss called me into a reputation conversation." He even did air quotes. "Apparently one of our biggest clients' kids goes to that daycare. They saw my name on the report, forwarded it to corporate, wanted to know if we're a stable representation of the brand." I swallowed. "What did you say?" "I said my wife overreacted and my mom got emotional," he snapped, "which was going okay until they pulled up the actual email with my work address CC'd and your very neat, very legal wording about documentation." He kicked the wall where he'd punched it before, like he wanted to finish the job this time. The drywall dent cracked a little more. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he shouted. "I could lose my job over this." I just looked at him. "You're the one whose mom caused a scene in a childcare facility. You're the one who thought it was okay to threaten our walls instead of fixing the problem." He swept his arm across the hallway table, sending the mail, my sunglasses, and Emma's little clay handprint flying. The handprint hit the tile and shattered into 3 jagged pieces. That one hurt. I felt tears burn immediately. "Stop breaking our kids' stuff," I said, voice low. "You're proving every single thing that report implies." He froze, chest heaving. For a second, I thought he might actually apologize. Instead, he pointed at me. "Fix it," he said. "Email them, call them, tell them you exaggerated, and restart your half of the payments. I can't carry this alone." There it was, the truth. "You told me a man provides, I said softly. Was that a lie? Or are you just mad the fantasy is expensive? He lunged forward, knocking a dining chair over, and for a heartbeat I thought he was coming at me. My whole body tensed. He saw it, saw me flinch. Something flickered across his face. Shame, disgust, and he changed course, stomping past me instead, out the front door, slamming it hard enough that one of the kids' framed photos crashed to the floor. I wrote it all down in my spiral notebook. Broken handprint, broken frame, HR meeting. Exact words. I can't carry this alone. Reality documented. The next morning, my car wouldn't move. All four tires were slashed, not slow leaks, jagged, ugly cuts. The word selfish was keyed down the driver's side, right through the paint. I just stood there in the driveway, robe flapping in the wind, staring. The kids pressed their faces to the window. Across the street, our neighbor peeked through her blinds. I took pictures. Close-ups, wide shots, the whole crime scene catalog. Called the police, called my lawyer, called a tow truck. While the officer took my statement, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. I played it on speaker. Carol's voice, high and ragged. You think you can take my grandbabies and my son's money and humiliate our family? Enjoy being stuck, princess. Maybe you'll stay home like you're supposed to now. The officer's eyebrows shot up. You mind forwarding that to me? He asked. I did. Then I forwarded it to Jason with no text, just the photo of my destroyed car. When he finally replied an hour later, all he wrote was, I'll handle it. Don't call the insurance yet. Too late. Insurance, police, lawyer, they all knew now. My money was safe. My kids were documented as witnesses to chaos I never eased. His mother was on record as unhinged. And for the first time since this started, I felt something like power settling over me, cold and clear. He wanted to provide? Cool. He could start by providing answers, to the cops, to his boss, to the bank, without my paycheck, my silence, or my protection. Jason didn't come home that night until after the kids were asleep. I was at the kitchen table with my laptop, spiral notebook open, photos of my shredded tires pulled up for the third time just to remind myself I wasn't overreacting, when the front door slammed. He walked in looking wrecked, tie gone, shirt half untucked, eyes bloodshot. He tossed his keys on the counter, then stopped when he saw me. You called the cops, he said. Not a question, an accusation. I shut the laptop calmly. The cops, the insurance, and my lawyer, in that order. He laughed, this bitter, broken sound. You really want to put the mother of your husband in jail? She keyed selfish into the car I used to take our kids to daycare, I said. She already had a trespass warning. She left a voicemail basically confessing. She put herself in jail. He started pacing, running his hands through his hair. His eyes kept flicking to the dent in the wall, the broken picture frame leaning against the baseboard, Emma's shattered handprint still in a little ziploc on the console table. Look, he said finally, dropping into the chair across from me. They want her in for questioning tomorrow. If you just tell them you're not sure it was her, say the voicemail was taken out of context. No, I said. He blinked. Lily, this is my mother. And I am the mother of your children. I pushed the spiral notebook toward him, open to the page I'd labeled Incidents. Wall punch, broken frame, daycare trespass, lobby plant, shoving Megan, trespass warning, tires, voicemail, dates, times, witnesses. He flipped through a few pages, face going whiter with each line. You've been keeping score? I've been documenting abuse, I corrected. Like my lawyer told me to. That word landed like a brick. Before he could respond, my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. Again. I answered it on speaker. Ms. Collins, this is Officer Ramirez. Just letting you know we picked up Carol a little while ago. Neighbor's security camera footage confirmed she was at your car around 5 a.m., and that voicemail you forwarded sealed it. She's being charged with criminal mischief and harassment. We'll keep you posted about the restraining order paperwork. Jason's face crumpled. You arrested her? You did this, his eyes said. Thank you, officer, I replied, voice steady. Please send anything you have to my lawyer as well. When I hung up, Jason exploded. You vindictive! He grabbed the notebook, hurled it at the wall. It hit with a dull smack and fell open, pages bent, I stood up so fast my chair scraped. You just added another incident, I said quietly. He stared at me, chest heaving, eyes wild. Then softer, almost pleading. Can we just go back? Before all this? You quit your job, my mom backs off, we fix the house, forget the daycare. My laugh came out harsh. You want me to give up the one thing that's keeping me and the kids safe so your image and your mommy's feelings recover? Absolutely not. As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. Jason opened it and a guy in a polo and khakis stepped in, holding a manila envelope. Jason Collins? He asked. You've been served. Jason took the papers with numb fingers. I watched the color drain from his face as he skimmed the top page. Petition for legal separation, temporary custody arrangements, exclusive use of marital residence to me. Request for restraining order against Carol from me and the kids. Attached. Photos, reports, police statements. You went to a lawyer? He whispered. After you punched the wall next to my head and let your mother try to hijack my entire life? Yeah, I said. I did. He sank onto the couch, papers slack in his hands. You're going to take my kids. I'm giving you a schedule, I corrected. You can see them, but not in your parents' house. Not with someone who slashes my tires and calls their daycare pretending I'm unfit. And not until you do anger management and actually provide something other than broken drywall. He swallowed hard. And the money? I looked him dead in the eye. You wanted to be the provider. The court's going to help you live that dream. Child support. Probably some alimony until we sort this out. Full mortgage for the house we bought together that I'm the only one keeping livable. Silence settled between us, thick and heavy. The only sound was the hum of the fridge and Noah's soft snoring through the baby monitor. A week later, after Carol's arraignment and Jason's very serious HR follow-up, he packed a suitcase and moved into his old room at his parents' house. Dawn apparently slept on the couch that night because Carol sobbed so hard her blood pressure spiked. I kept my job. I kept my paycheck in my own account. I kept my kids safe. The crooked wedding photo is gone. In its place, I hung a new frame. Just Emma and Noah at the park, cheeks sticky with ice cream, grinning at the camera. I measured it, made sure it was perfectly straight. Every time I walk past it, I remember the day Carol told me real mothers stay home. I smile, grab my work bag, kiss my kids, and lock my front door behind me on the way to the career that paid for our freedom, without his permission and without her approval.